What's up, people of the interwebs? This is the latest edition of
Know Your Troll.
Know Your Troll. If you are new to this video series on this channel, or you are new to this channel at all, Know Your Troll is a video series in which people leave extremely stupid comments about any number of things, and I capitalize on their stupidity by monetizing it. But this is not just about trolls. This is also an opportunity for me to answer a number of other comments that I have received across a number of other videos here very recently. Admittedly, I don't normally do these videos this close together, but you guys have had a lot of comments lately, and a lot of, all kinds of stuff. I'm very, very grateful that you guys, continue to reach out to me. So, and I admit it is getting harder and harder to respond to them all in the comments sections of these videos, so sometimes it's easier for me to just turn on the camera and answer several of them at once. So, here we go. First comment, this one is from Baja Racer 43X. He says, FYI, Picker's Grip does work. Got some of Sam Ash for $10. Well worth the money. Absolutely it is. Thank you so much for giving Picker's Grip a shot. I'm glad you enjoy it. They have been kind enough to sponsor a lot of different, several different videos on this channel over the last year, maybe year and a half or so now. Anyway, but they're a great product. I strongly encourage you strongly encourage everybody to go check them out. I'll include links to both the video that I did on it a while back on their product, as well as links to their website where you can purchase them. Picker's Grip is also available in, I think he said 20 different Sam Ash stores, Sam Ash locations, but admittedly, I'm not quite sure which one. I'll see if I can find it on their website. But anyway, all those links will be down below. And by the way, Picker's Grip is not sponsoring this particular video. Brian Wilson says, what about the Holmes Mississippi Bluesmaster, the amp of choice by the great Shawn Lane? Shawn Lane. The Shawn Lane? Chris Lauder says, LOL, the reverse V. I want one now. These two comments go together. Cowtown Customs. I would like to get into some of the home recording with my grandson. He is a talented 13-year-old who can pick up anything and play. Can you do a video on how to start the right way and cost involved? Thanks, Robert. David Murray also comments and says, I'm not up on tech. I use a DP32SD Tascam mixer recorder. Would this be any good for the setup? Looking at buying a PC after Christmas, and will need to research a guitar software package to get up to date with tech. Also, I like to mic up amp. How does this work with the two tones? Brilliant review, TA. You know what? I'm not going to dive too far into this. However, I will tell you that I personally own a Tascam DP24 SD, which is the model directly below the DP32 that you own. They're actually the same size units. The only difference between the two is how they, some of the channels are configured. And they actually, matter of fact, when you buy one, it's actually the same manual that comes with both of them. Great unit. I use it all the time. Fantastic way to start. I am going to actually do, because of both of these comments and a number of other ones that I've gotten, I am actually going to do a video in a very, very near future about starting, getting started in a home with a home recording setup. So keep an eye out for that, and hopefully most of your questions will be answered there. Edward Vigu. We're going with Vigu. Change your shirt. Almost all your videos have the same clothes on. I'm sure you make enough money to selling your snot for pit glue. Number one, selling my snot for pit glue sounds to me like maybe you need to get the glue a little bit farther away from your own nose with that spelling and grammar. Number two, this is a guitar channel, dude. You know, we talk about guitars and guitar gear and stuff like that here. If you're coming here to check out what I'm wearing, that's just creepy. Guitar Wizard 55 says, I'm sorry, but you don't have one guitar that I would be proud to own. BC Rich, come on, they've never made a good guitar in their history. Your best guitar you own is a Squier, Telly, and Strat. I'm sorry, but it's hard to take you seriously when you're not serious about your equipment. You use the same form of your, which is the wrong one, on about 2 or 3 different spots in that comment. BC Rich have been around since 1969 and are probably among the, not probably, they are among the pioneers of neck-through construction, and some of the early models like the Mockingbird and the Bitch have been played, and the Eagle have all been played by tons and tons and tons of very well-known artists. And last but not least, if the best guitars that I own are a Squier, Telly, and Strat, I find it very difficult to take you seriously when you can't even spell Squier correctly. If you're gonna troll, at least troll smart. J77 says, would have been nice to maybe have examples of the sounds. Cheers. I get this comment quite a bit, usually on the worst amps video. Here's why I didn't include sound. Matter of fact, here's why I don't include sound examples of most of these amps. One comment that I get the most is, where is your shop? I'd love, I want to come check out your shop. I don't have a shop. Every single one of these videos are all filmed inside my own home. The room that you guys see me in with the guitars and everything in the background, that is a bedroom in my house. So there is no shop. And furthermore, everything, this channel is just about 100% funded out of my own pocket. And particularly in the case of the worst amps video, I am not going to spend a ton of money on a pile of amps that I hate just so that I can demo them. And the flip side of that video was already upwards of 20 minutes long. If I'd stretched it out any longer than that, somebody would have complained about that. So, anytime that that I'm doing a video of a top 10 list or top whatever it is of amps or guitars or pedals or whatever it may be, I don't demo a lot of them, or most of them in some cases, simply because I just don't own them. Jason Knox says, I like your impression of trying to play the Ibanez with the Chaos Pad, LMFAO. Trying to cross your arms while sitting is a big mistake for you, sir. Your arms keep bashing into that belly you're sporting, LMFAO. What is with you people that, again, this is a guitar channel. We talk about guitars and guitar gear here. If you're coming here to this channel to check out check out the body of a 42-year-old bald guy, there's a big internet out there, and there's far better stuff to look at out there than what you're seeing on this channel. That's just creepy, dude. Jimmy McKee says, speaking of rock amps, how do you feel about Panama amps? I'm thinking of either looking at the Loco or the Shaman. I already have a 5153, PV Triple X, and Black Star, but they seem like they have a more classic rock sound than those amps. The Panama amps are actually pretty versatile. I actually happen to own 4 of them. I've done several videos on all of them. I have the Shaman 20, the 5 watt. Those 2 models are probably my favorites, and then I also have a Fuego X and a Fuego Hot Rod. I also have 2 Panama cabs. I've got what they call the Tonewood 212, which is the largest size 212 cab loaded with their greenback clone speaker that they call the Purpleback, and I also have another 412 cabinet from them that they called the Prometheus cab. So I like Panama amps quite a bit. I think just about all of them. I think they produce a very wide variety of sounds. I think they're very versatile. Very versatile. They've got some unique designs as far as the control layout and how things are dialed in. I think there's a lot of really, really good, neat things about them. Plus I don't know of any other companies that are built, whose factory is literally down there in the middle of the jungle in Panama. So it's also kind of unique. Unfortunately, my understanding is that their reverb shop is completely empty right now. I lost touch with them quite a while back. I believe that the the owner, who was my main line of communication, experienced was going through some personal stuff, and just quit responding to my to my messages once upon a time, and I haven't spoken to him in probably over a year now. My understanding is Panama Guitars, the company, are going through a very, very tough time right now, just due to the tariff wars that are unfortunately going on here in the U.S. So hopefully all of that stuff will get ironed out. They'll be able to get their product back here into the U.S. a little bit easier, and see them pick up again. John O'Keefe says, "Do you have an opinion on Donner pedals?" There's a lot of pedal brands that are mass produced overseas these days, and some of these brands like Donner and Amoon, or however that one's pronounced, and Mosky, and Tom's Line, a lot of those pedals that are really, really inexpensively mass produced. A lot of people do seem to like several models. To me, I'm not convinced that they're not all built in the exact same factory with just a different brand name slapped on them. And, so for that reason, I've stayed away. It's just kind of a turn off to me. So, for me, I've stayed away from them. I haven't demoed it. I demoed a Tom's Line pedal on my channel once, and I was far from impressed. Now, some of those other brands that are mass produced over there, I think are definitely unique and produced in their own factories. Brands like Mooer, who have been around for a while now. Outlaw Effects, Outlaw Effects I really, really like. Joyo, Nux or NUX, all those companies are starting to expand and come out with their own unique designs. So that makes and I've just from conversations I've had with people who are closely associated with those organizations, all seem to indicate that those brands are, as well as a few others, those brands are absolutely unique and independent in and of themselves. So, but the Donner stuff is not one of those, unfortunately, to my knowledge. This comment came from the Greatest Rock Amps Ever video. King Core says, "Educational voice needs compressor to even out the volume ups and downs." The dialogue in that video did not come out nearly as there was a lot of room reflection in that. I was using the same condenser mic that I always do, but for some reason I had something dialed in wrong, and the dialogue came out rather poorly in that. So my apologies. And as you can see for this video, I have switched to an EV Electro Voice ND96 dynamic microphone, so hopefully the dialogue audio will come out a little bit better on this video. A while back, I did a video about the greatest guitar players on YouTube, and of course, to list them all would be a very, very long list, but this comment came from that video. Leonard Sabinski says, "Robert, I find it hard to believe that you failed to mention Daryl Braun, who's up in Canada. He is a fantastic guitarist and such a nice guy and always smiling. Check him out at Daryl Braun Guitar." I'm actually very familiar with Daryl's channel, and I like Daryl's channel quite a bit. I agree with everything that you said. He's a fantastic guitar player. Always, seems like a real nice, real positive guy. He's just got a very, very likable personality about him. I don't know him. I've never communicated with him or anything, but you're absolutely he could have and maybe even should have deserved a spot on that list. M. Russo says, "Doesn't certain distortions make for better pinch harmonics? Remember the Rockman Sustainer." I don't think it's necessarily a certain distortion that'll make for, and by better pinch harmonics, I'm assuming that you're referring to easier. The best way I have always found out if you're having trouble with pinch harmonics ringing out properly is to turn up the gain. Admittedly, I am not Zakk Wylde. I am not exactly a master of pinch harmonics. I use them occasionally, but it's not one of those techniques that I have always favored, honestly, because I've actually struggled with it. So, the best way that I have found out to do it is to cheat. The way that you're supposed to do it is to hold your guitar pick, as the name implies, to pinch your guitar pick, and as the pick itself runs across as the string runs across the pick and needs to immediately hit the backside, or hit that part of your thumb or your finger, depending on which way you're going, to ring out harmonically. The way that I have always had better success doing it is, hold my pick hand as I have always done, and then I like to, whatever string that I'm trying to perform a pinch harmonic on, to use my ring finger and hold it on the string at the same time. So, that method has always worked a lot better for me. This is on the Greatest Rock Amps Ever video. Rene Garza says, I like this guy, but he never mentions Engel amps. They're the best. He needs to do his research. I'm actually very familiar with Engel amps. The Fireball and the Powerball. Probably, they've been used by a lot of famous guitar players. Probably the two that come to mind the most would be Marty Friedman and Orianthi, both of whom are fantastic guitar players. I like Engel amps. I just, I've never owned one, I've sat down and played through a couple of them, and they do seem really, really cool, but it's not an amp that I've had a ton of access to, and that I don't have a lot of personal experience with them. So, would I love to own one? Absolutely, I would. I like them just fine. I have nothing negative to say about Engel amps. They're just not one of those amp brands that's always at the forefront of my mind. Simon says. Simon says, so you made a list of the greatest amps ever and did not include a Marshall Plexi? That is just wrong. Actually, no, I made a list of the greatest rock amps ever and did not include the Marshall Plexi. However, on that very same list of amps, there was also the Marshall JCM 800, the Marshall JCM 900, the Marshall JCM 2000, and the Marshall Jubilee. A list of 14 amplifiers, 3 of those entries, because I put the 900 and the 2000 in the same entry in that video, merely just so that Marshall didn't take up any more space on a list of amps than necessary. I want to try to be fair. Yes, the Plexi is absolutely one of the greatest rock amps out there, no question. But we had plenty of Marshall representation in that video. Skipping Stone says, thank you, it's great to see your collection, many different sounds. I play on a Padula Orsini guitar made in 75. It has super distortion DiMarzio pickups. I tried to get a similar sound on a Strat, no use, nothing like DiMarzio's. Want a second guitar? Can you make a suggestion? No, thank you, Nelson. Oh, man. Here's what I can suggest. Because what you're asking, without knowing what kind of music you're playing, what kind of style, what kind of amp you're using, or any of that kind of stuff, that's a very, very vague and very difficult question to answer. I can't just point to an amp and say, here, this is what you need. I don't know. More information is essentially required. However, I think what we can determine is that you don't want a guitar with single coils in it, and if you like DiMarzio, if you like super distortions, check out Ibanez has plenty of models out there that have super distortions in it, or go buy go find yourself a decent Les Paul and swap out the pickups for a pair of super distortions. You can buy a pair of super distortions for what do they run, about $80 a piece or so. That pickup has been around for a long time now, and that was Ace Frehley's pickup of choice, and even still is, I believe. A lot of people, especially, like to throw those pickups into Les Paul. So, if it were me, it's kind of hard to pinpoint an actual sound towards a pickup, because there's so many factors that can change it. But I'll tell you what. Let's do exactly what Guitar Wizard 55 would tell you not to do, and I'm going to suggest that you go find a BC Rich Mockingbird, and and go put a set of DiMarzio super distortions in it if it doesn't already have it. This comment was on the video on the Hammer Scarab that I did recently. Sky Sea Sun 333 says, video was a big disappointment. Do the research and then make a video. Don't pass it off to someone else to comment on. Maybe you should retitle your video, Look What I Have. You know what? I'm just going to share the rest of this comment exchange with you, and I'm going to leave it at that. Oh, the interwebs. Wade Guidry commented on the Greatest Amps Ever video and said Herbert is pronounced Hey Bear. Diesel. Here's what and if I mispronounced it, I truly apologize. The way it is spelled, which is Herbert, and American English, which is unfortunately the only language that I am fluent in, that spelled out in American English would be pronounced Herbert. However, I do recognize the Diesel or Dietzel, as it is pronounced in German, is in fact a German company, and what I'm assuming that you are talking about would be the German pronunciation of it. Very, very interesting, and it kind of makes me wonder wonder what Diesel's marketing strategy behind that particular model name may have, or any of their model names might be. If they're trying to cater more towards the U.S. market, or if they're trying to get dumbass Americans like me to pronounce German words more accurately. I don't know. Kind of interesting. But thank you for clarifying that. Yep, that's right. This comment came from the Fuzz Factory video. Will Longlet says, in big bold letters, intentionally dials a crappy sound. Quote, see, it sucks. End quote. It amazes me the number of people that comment on that video and don't realize that there is not a single thing about that video that is meant to be taken seriously. It was a joke. I don't like the Fuzz Factory. We all know that, so I decided to make a joke about it. This one came on the Worst Production Guitars Ever video. William Rohn says, the Kramer is shaped like a effing balalaika, you plebe. Plebe? What's a plebe? He says, since you obviously don't understand, let me explain. Gorky Park was a state-run amusement park in Moscow. I'm not going to read all that. He finishes with, it's awesome. It's probably the rarest vintage Kramer you'll ever see, and it undoubtedly outplayed this ignorant Uncle Fester impersonator. How about you stick to guitars you know anything about, maybe have actually played, and have some frame of reference to criticize? Well, here's something that you may not have known about the Gorky Park guitar. Prior to that, Kramer were doing pretty well, and unfortunately my understanding is that the owner of Kramer Guitars made some rather unfortunate decisions, and a fair amount of the profits went into some places that they probably shouldn't have gone. So by the time the Gorky Park guitar came out, it was indeed that guitar that inevitably put Kramer out of business. Bet you didn't know that little tidbit about the Gorky Park guitar, did you? By the way, I think it was made of plywood. Zoologist says, can you give me your opinion on Marshall Origin 5, please? I am thinking about getting me one of those brand new for home use. Yeah, I actually really like the Marshall Origin series amps. The 5-watt version is a little small for my taste. But the truth is, those were originally announced at Winter NAMM 2018, and they had originally introduced at Winter NAMM 2018, came out later that year, and I've been back and forth between the, whether or not to get myself the 20-watt or the 50-watt head, because really the only difference between those two is the wattage. The 50-watt head would probably be pretty nice to have, for when the day does roll around that I do start playing gigs again. A couple of things about them, they're really affordable. The 50-watt head I think is only $649, brand new. Probably the one that they sound the closest to, their famous models, I think would be the Plexi. So it's kind of got a Plexi sound to it, and they're not high gain monsters by any means, but they do sound very similar to a Plexi. But the big selling point on those amps is they were designed by Marshall specifically to be used as a pedal platform, and that's one thing that a lot of Marshalls are not exactly known for. So, but this one was designed specifically with that in mind, and it seems to do a marvelous job at that. So, unfortunately, I really wanted to buy one in 2018 when they came out, and it just it didn't happen for me. I've been, so I was hoping it was going to happen again here this year as I record this in 2019. Not going to acquire one in 2019 either, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I have a Marshall Origin Series amp come my way in 2020. So that's it. That is the last question. Thank you all so much for submitting all of your comments. I really, really do try as hard as I can to read them all. There are more and more coming in nowadays than there used to be, and I don't get the alerts for all of them, but I do still get the alerts for most of them, and I do at least try my best to hit the like or reply really quickly with an emoji or something, just so that you know that I did in fact read it. So I will post any pertinent links to anything that I may have talked about in this video down in the description. Also down in the description are various different ways that you can support this channel, which is also very, very much appreciated, especially this time of year. The holiday season can certainly use some support. Always need extra support during the holiday season. Hit the like button, hit the dislike button, hit whichever one applies. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and of course the bell right next to it. Thank you all so much for watching. Sayonara.